Stalemate over illegal immigration has shifted into actual conversation about compromise in Washington. But there's been a call in Georgia that we need more than conversation here. In fact, if it doesn't want to continue losing tens of millions of dollars in agriculture, it's going to get hits to other industries that rely on immigrant labor. Joining us this evening to talk about it, Glenn Fogel is an immigration lawyer in Atlanta. His firm handles cases across the country. Todd Guillemette is the owner of Unique Environmental Landscapes in Cobb County, an award-winning company that's been in business more than 20 years. Also joining us is Jeremy Redmond, who writes on immigration and other topics for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Thank you all for joining us this evening. This is certainly a story in flux with what's going on in Washington, D.C., for goodness sake, and then what the Georgia legislature is even looking at doing as we move down the road. And Glenn, let's start with you. I want to go around the table and get your point of view. What's the real impact of Georgia's immigration law up till now? Does it solve problems or create them?
I think it creates problems. It's created a huge economic problem with the farmers and the crops rotting in the fields. It's a huge waste of law enforcement resources because you've got policemen trying to pretend that they're immigration officers, and every time they arrest somebody that looks like they're foreign born, and when they really should be doing really should be fighting real crime. That's one thing. Many people are just being arrested for no reason. People never get arrested for traffic tickets, except if you're Mexican or from some other country, and you might be illegal.
Todd, I want to get your point of view because you own a business. You have to have employees, and what's been the impact on you?
Well, there's definitely been a reduction in viable employees. We lost a large commercial project because we couldn't find enough e-verifiable employees to fill the jobs. It's going to be tough for our green industry to fill the gap that's going to be created with this immigration policies and the e-verify policies.
Yeah, how many employees do you have?
Right now we have about 35 to 40, and we will hire 20 to 30 more during our peak season, which normally runs about 130, 140 days.
A lot of people just say, e-verify, let's push a button and it's done. How tough is that?
Yeah, it's hard. We've run some people through already, and we're not getting feedback, or they say insufficient. And we've even had people who are American citizens. We've gone through the process, and it kicks it back with it, and it's not user-friendly yet.
Jeremy Redmond, you've been covering the topic with a big overview for the state here since its inception. You probably sleep with HB 87, but you have for a while. Your point of view, is it solving problems, creating them, or something down the middle?
Well, it was styled as a way to protect taxpayer-funded resources and jobs, right? Well, to what extent has that happened? That's a very murky area to really measure. In some ways, it's not measurable. We might see some evidence when the Pew Hispanic Center comes out with a new estimate on undocumented immigrants in Georgia. That's expected soon. The Department of Homeland Security will also put out an estimate on undocumented immigrants in Georgia. But how much of that is really related to House Bill 87? How much of that is related to the economy in Mexico and our struggling economy in the United States? Again, this is something that's very tough to measure. Your reporter covered it adequately, the unintended consequences of this law. But what it was intended to address, will we ever be able to measure that? And I think the answer to that is maybe never.
You heard from Todd, it's tough on his business, which you can argue is an offshoot of the agriculture industry. Are any other industries dramatically impacted?
I've heard of similar stories from the state's largest industry, the farming community. It lost, as your reporter covered, millions of dollars in lost crops as migrant and Hispanic workers fled, fearing this law. I've heard concerns as well from people who are in a variety of professions who are trying to get professional licenses but must show certain forms of identification to get those licenses. This has created some paperwork delays, and it's affecting commerce in the state of Georgia overall. And this is for thousands of nurses, accountants, insurance salesmen, and so on.
Any of you, have legal citizens, legal residents had an easier time of getting jobs because of this change in Georgia law?
I don't know if it's an easier time. I think it's just creating, another administrative activity in hiring somebody. Now with the E-Verify and the other things that are coming at us, in every industry, it's going to be things, especially for small businesses, it's going to create more of a workload on struggling small businesses.
How about from your point of view, Glenn? You practice law in this area.
It's not been easier, and it's certainly not been easier for legal people to find jobs. The thing is, a lot of the folks that are here that are here illegally working or filling jobs that aren't that we can't fill. I think they tried to get, again, last year they tried to get prisoners to go pick crops. They couldn't even get them to do it for a couple of days.
How tough is the current path to legitimacy? If you had a client that came to you and said, "Hey, look, I want to make this right. I want to have the green card. I want to be a legal resident here in the United States." Is that a tough process? Does it take years and years?
Well, here that's the problem. It's practically impossible for a regular worker or somebody like a farm laborer or construction worker, those types of workers to actually ever immigrate to the United States. That's the problem. The problem is a much bigger problem. It's a national problem with our immigration law. And Georgia and other states like Arizona and Alabama, it seemed like a whole bunch of the southern states kind of jumped on the bandwagon to try to do their own little immigration laws. Have created this horrible, these horrible unintended consequences, which are really devastating to economies of all of the states.
Are you finding yourself having to defend wholesale a large group of people who feel like they've been harassed under this law? You mentioned that a moment ago. I mean, you put numbers to that?
I every day people are coming into my office that are families of husband, wife, son, or daughter has been arrested for some minor traffic infraction that no one normal person would ever even get arrested for.
So, Jeremy, I want to flip over to what's happening in Washington right now. And, of course, federal law often trumps state law. What happens if Congress gets together on their own immigration reform package? A lot of people argue that, hey, this isn't the business of the states. This is the federal government's foreign policy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens with what the President and Congress are proposing. To what extent will it make what Georgia is doing moot? For instance, one of the provisions in Georgia's law gives them the option to question the immigration status of certain suspects. So if Congress passes a law legalizing, provides a pathway to citizenship for 11 million undocumented immigrants, that's the estimate here nationally, do the police continue to enforce that law, knowing that maybe it's not necessary, that if all these people are on a pathway to citizenship, why even go down that route? Same thing with E-Verify, the work authorization program. Congress is looking at doing some type of national work authorization program. Will it be E-Verify, as Georgia is requiring, or something else?
Have you found police in Georgia and local police agencies, have they been willing to enforce the Show Me Your Papers provision of Georgia's immigration law?
And reporting on this, there's a lot of questions and pause that police are having with this. One of the concerns is to what extent would they alienate their Hispanic populations by starting to enforce this law? Legal concerns over unlawful search and seizure. How long can they stop them before it becomes unconstitutional? Do they they have to stick to the very reason why they stopped them and not go beyond that? There are a lot of questions and concerns. When I interviewed police when this started to take effect in December after the court battles were over, I didn't hear one of them say that they were about to start enforcing it right away. There was a lot of training and preparation and due diligence that was going to be happening.
Todd, in your business, what would you like to see happen? What would you like to see them actually put into law that might help you and stay legal?
Well, unified, easy access to citizenship. I mean, we need labor at every level, educated labor, unskilled labor. And so if they could make the process easy to allow us to fill the jobs and provide the services to people in our communities, that's what we need.
And Glenn, finally, do you find a lot of excitement in some of the people that you deal with over this postponement for younger illegal aliens that the president has implemented?
I've definitely been able to help a lot of young people to get the work authorization, to be able to get driver's license now, which is a whole other topic about driver's licenses. But we have been able to help a lot of people with that.
And Jeremy, finally, in the last 30 seconds, so what do you see moving forward in the Georgia legislature this time to fix any of these unintended consequences?
I think there's strong support to address this issue of professional licensure, that there's this unintended consequence of people getting delays of getting their licenses because of the new paperwork. There's a bill pending in the House right now by a Republican. Democrats actually are also proposing a similar bill. I expect that will pick up support in both the House and Senate. There's a lot of emphasis and interest in fixing this issue so it doesn't affect commerce anymore.
Thank you all three for joining us, talking about this important topic this evening. Great to meet you all.
My
Great to see
pleasure.
you.